about the Messi thing.
Anything else on the Messi front, Chris, before we move on?
No, I'm done. I'm
falling out. I told you, I never want to bring this guy's name up again.
I don't know, man. This Messi thing is just a freaking mess. What a disaster.
I don't want to hear this name ever again until it's official. But they're back.
Welcome to episode number 1 of the Battered Soccer Fans. I am your host, Daniel Granada. Next to me right here, over here, my bad. There we go. We got Ben Borges, and below us, we got my man, Chris Duran.
What up? Good. You know, talking about soccer. I mean, it's a new world for me, but you know, it is what it is. I'd like to get into it.
The issue with Inter Miami, in a way, for me, was like the hype, like the salesmanship that David Beckham had in the press conferences, right? Like, oh, we're gonna get Messi, Ronaldo. All you got was Blaise Matuidi and you go, hey, both.
You're gonna get somebody like Messi next year. You're gonna get somebody like Messi next year. You're gonna get somebody like Messi next year. You're gonna get somebody like Messi next year.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Chris, the Battered Soccer Fans are back. Man, that sounded weird.
That was.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 68 of the Battered Herons podcast. Happy anniversary or podiversary. Chris, how you doing? I see you brought back the throwback camera where you like you're on some type of ransom video.
Well, you know, I had to bring it back since this is the 1-year anniversary. I might as well look like I'm in a cave. So it's only going to be for a couple minutes. I'm already ugly enough, so I'll change the camera in a couple seconds.
Well, actually, you want it to be as dark as possible when you're ugly, no?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's been exactly a year from when we dropped our very first episode. Here we are, 68 episodes later. And man, like the title says, what a difference a year makes. We now have Messi instead of Higuain as our 10. We now have Busquets as our CDM instead of Matuidi, the Brightline ambassador. And we have a brand new official coach. But before we get into all of that, on that very first, second, third, I want to say the first 5 or 6 episodes, we did have a third Battered Heron and wanted to bring him back just for a little throwback real quick. So we're going to bring on my man, Benjamin Borges. How are you doing, sir?
What's going on, guys? What's going on, man? It's good to be back on the show, man. Congratulations. Happy anniversary or podiversary. You guys look great, man. The honeymoon is now over and the work continues, man.
Yes.
Yeah, well, for sure. And
fact.
just so you know, in case nobody, well, I'm sure we got some fans here somewhere. Ben kind of left for bigger and better things. His heart is really with and the Canes. So he went off and started a podcast, which is probably, I would assume, the quickest growing podcast I've ever seen, because you started in you were like 5-6 months in and you're almost at 1,000 subscribers. So good job to you. Congrats on that. And if you haven't already, check out that You Heard podcast.
Hey man, look, I gotta give you your flowers on this one, man. We talked about things for a long time. You know, we said niche, we gotta do our thing, and we gotta find something we're passionate about and we can always talk about. So I was like, man, like this thing's been calling me, Miami's been calling me. It's just been coming to my head, and reached out to this guy Joe Williams on Twitter. And we kicked it off. It's 7 months in. We're 958 or something subscribers. You know, we just chop it up on the podcast, man, just like how we would normally.
Yeah, man, it's fun. And then you got the NOH2O guy. I keep forgetting his name, but no water. So,
yeah. He hates water. Yeah. Shout out to CB, man, my guy.
So
he hates water.
Just before you decided to go off and do the podcast, we used to have a back and forth, if you ever want to go back and check the first couple episodes, about how Ben is a Europe snob, right? He thinks the MLS is beneath him. So my question to you is, first, what were your thoughts when you heard Messi was coming? Because we were talking about it a year ago, about the possibility. Now that Messi's here, what were your thoughts when you found out Messi was coming? And second, will you now be watching MLS more regularly now that we have Messi?
We got him.
All right. Okay. Nice ad lib. Let's cut that into a gift right there. Yeah, man. To answer the second question first, yes, I'm going to be watching MLS.
Hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt real quick, Ben. My daughter just came in here. Say hi, baby. Hey, baby.
Hey,
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Oh, that's very sweet.
That's very sweet.
Love you.
All right.
Thank you, mommy. we got a cake. We had Tommy in the backstage say he forgot the cake. My daughter got us. All right. Sorry. All right. Sorry to cut you off, Ben. What was that?
Nah, yeah. So second question first. First of all, Olivia looks adorable. Shout out to my niece. Need to go see her definitely. Yeah, I'm gonna be watching more MLS. And I love that you cut yourself up on the intro there saying we were gonna get Messi. Because that was the first 5-6 episodes. That's what we talked about, right? Because we would bash Higuain, then we looked silly for that one. And then you said, hey, we're gonna get Messi episode 1. And then a year we're like, yo, we got Messi. Like it's still crazy to me. Yeah. I formally apologize. I'm back now. I formally apologize to Higuain for doing this thing last year, bro, getting us to the playoffs.
This was the first ever Battered Fans shirt right here. I'm sorry, Higuain brought that back as a throwback. So you will be watching MLS now. And what do you think? Of
course you will.
Messi, of course. Who isn't going to be
watching? Of course
MLS?
you will, man. Come on.
Now, are you in the side of he's washed, or I don't think many people think that, but what are you thinking as far as Messi showing up?
I think Messi's gonna show up and show out, man. I don't think you bet on yourself the way he did, because he could have taken what $800 million a year to be in a league that nobody is ever gonna watch. He came here and did all the press conferences and did all the videos and brought notoriety to it. You don't bring worldwide attention to something to be like, yeah, but I'm only gonna give you 5 goals and 2 assists.
Yeah,
that's just he's not showing up for that.
That's crazy.
Well, I agree. Anything else, Ben, for the people before? Because I know Ben records on Wednesday nights his You Heard podcast, so he did us a favor to just jump in on just as a little throwback to celebrate our 1 year. Anything before the people, and obviously promote your stuff. Where can they find you?
Yeah, man. So follow me on Ben Kane at Ben Kane 84 at You Heard Pod. Got a social media guy over there, CB, who hates water and also drinks charcoal cherries. That's a whole different conversation for another day. Yeah, if you real quick story for your people. So if you like the cherries that come in that jar, the stuff that's in it is the same stuff they make charcoal with. Those maraschino cherries, the things that they put on the Christmas ham, those cherries have the same stuff that they make charcoal with. So we gave them a hard time about that. So yeah, man. Look, man, love the show, man. Obviously, check you guys out. We always talk about it. Love what you're doing, man. You're growing, and it couldn't happen to better people to get this Messi news and everybody being flooded to your channel, man, because you guys deserve it all, man. I'm not here to talk about my stuff, man. I'm here to, you know what I'm saying, give you all your flowers, man. Doing this for a year. A lot of people quit. You stay with it and stay grinding, man. And salute to y'all, man. It's the Battered Herons all day, man. Battered soccer fans first.
That's it. Yeah. It was first Battered soccer fans. I thought Battered Herons sounded weird, but we went with it. I feel like it's working. I don't know.
Yeah, it's doing all right, man. Shout out to the logo. Shout out to the layout. I like it all, man. Y'all doing y'all thing.
All right. Well, again, Ben, I'll hit you up later. I appreciate you taking the time, and good luck on your stuff, man.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Much appreciated.
Yeah, man. Hey, Chris, real quick. Thank you for getting some light, bro.
Yeah, I got a new camera and everything, Baba.
Yeah, look, it just changed up. Got all pretty. Got his beard lined up and ready. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much, man.
All right, man.
Later, Ben.
All right, so
and listen, I was listening to the first podcast, and I remember saying in that episode where I was just getting my toes dipped into the water. I'm like balls deep in this now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're all the way in now.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into a lot more today, but I did want to bring in another guest that we have. Obviously, today the news of the day was that we have officially signed Tata Martino, right? Like we've been saying for a while that we thought this was probably going to be the move. And I talked to this person and I asked him, hey, whenever we get Tata, would you come on? And he said, of course, because he suffered through Tata and Joseph. So he's going to come and share some of that knowledge. And of course, it's one of our favorite guests, my main man, Tommy One Time. How are you doing, Tommy?
Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm a little disappointed that the 1 year anniversary was in episode 69.
Oh, yeah. Somebody mentioned that.
I saw it in the comments and I was like, he stole my material.
That would have been nice. You know what? Yes. I didn't even consider that. We should have just done a random episode yesterday so we could have made that happen.
Well, thanks for having me back. You guys have broken me, I have to tell you. You guys did the serial killer test with me, and it's been eating me up a lot.
It's rough.
I still eat my I was gonna buy a steak and cook a steak before this, but I had a podcast I did earlier. But I was thinking about it long and hard, and like this is me.
There we go.
Oh, yes.
Most days. There's most days, but then when I hear you guys talk about Messi and all of that.
Oh, that's good. You got to cut that out, Danny.
Yeah.
That's what I think, because everybody missed out on our great conversation after last time I was on here. We talked about the whole Messi coming and other teams having to pay for it, and it just turns out that Apple is just paying for the whole thing.
Yeah,
They're the ones that are going to benefit the most, probably.
Oh, shut up.
So yeah, well, that after the last time we had Tommy on, we did talk for quite a while afterwards about Messi, and none of it made actual YouTube air. And then we said that whenever he came on, we'd have him back on so he could bitch about it. And coincidentally, Tata is also here. So who better to have on since Tata was how long was he with Atlanta? Was it 3 years?
It was 2.
2 years. Okay. So it was 2 years with that. And so I guess, what could you tell us about Tata and his time in the MLS? Because, I think that's one of the biggest reasons we brought him on, not just because he is an international experienced coach and he has experience in Europe with Barcelona and whatnot. I think it's because he has all of those accolades and he has experience in the MLS and he's won an MLS Cup. So what could you tell us about his time in Atlanta?
I'd say one of the most important things is he's one of the smartest men that he could be his own technical director if he wanted to, right? Like the story goes that when he signs on with Atlanta United before the team's even there, he's got a notebook, like trading cards basically, of players that he's interested in bringing on to the team, players that he thinks going to work, right? He convinced Miguel Almiron to come to MLS. That wasn't on Almiron's radar, right? He went and talked to him and said, I'd love for you to come play here for a couple of years. You're going to get to Europe. And what happened? He got him to Europe. Won a championship. Mm-hmm. Like he is smart. And Atlanta's success early on, it was a big part of their drafting of, they were able to bring in some good players, but like a lot of the players that he brought on, like early on in the first couple seasons, he chose. So like he knows the league, he knows the outside of MLS, he knows who to bring in. So I see as this relationship continues to grow, probably not now because you're already having a crazy ass transfer window and you're probably going to have limited things of what you're going to be able to do this window. Yeah. See what he does in the offseason this year. See who these players that they start bringing in, because that's what's going to be interesting here, because he knows what he wants. And I'm sure they're going to give him the flexibility of being able to pick some of his players, because I think that's what he wanted. And that was one of the reasons why he left Atlanta United, was because Carlos Bocanegra, their technical director, he wanted control, right? Like Tata didn't get what he wanted all the time. Like they brought in Ezequiel Barco, who ended up being pretty much a bust for how much they paid for him, right?
I remember.
Tata didn't want him. He did not want him at all. He said, no, he's young. I'm looking for more of an experienced player. They brought him on anyways, and Tata was right. He ended up not being it.
What kind of play style do Tata's teams, or at least with Atlanta, did they play? Were they aggressive? Did they play the counter? Because honestly, I never really watched Atlanta closely back when he was coaching Atlanta.
They were very aggressive. I mean, you look at those couple years. I mean, they were probably the most fun team to watch, right? Like that's what got me into soccer. Really, was just the high scoring, high paced. A lot of 4-2-3-1s. That was a big thing that they did there. But like they always just seemed to be able to attack. One of the things that they did struggle with, and a lot of MLS teams do, is that when they get scored on first, especially at the Bends when they were playing at home, teams would bunker, and Atlanta United teams had trouble coming back. Against basically just parking the bus. Teams didn't want to play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They really didn't. They wanted to win 1-0 and go home. And that's still kind of the way that teams play, now against us. But it's interesting because Tata was always he was set in his ways, right? Like the same lineups over and over. He'd run some of these players into the ground. And sometimes he didn't want to give young players a shot. Miles Robinson was a player that probably should have gotten some playing time earlier, And as soon as he left, Frank de Boer came in and gave Miles a chance. He's one of the best center backs in the league, but he really couldn't break in with that team. Maybe he should have had a couple opportunities with it. But another thing I was thinking about today is like Open Cup wasn't a huge thing for him. He really didn't take that tournament too seriously. You guys are still in it, and I know you guys are definitely. He's going to treat this differently than obviously because of the expectations and all the players you have coming in. Yeah, you have to. You're in it so late at this point. Yeah, like it'd be dumb if you didn't. Right. So you have to. I don't think that that's the case. But what was most interesting is right before Atlanta went to the playoffs, where they obviously won MLS Cup, things just weren't working. They ended up losing the Supporter Shield on the last day of the season. And Atlanta came in, they had a tough road. They had to play New York FC. They had to play the Red Bulls, in the first two rounds. And you're saying, how are they going to do this? Because they really didn't beat these teams, right? And Tata came in and decided, we're not going to control the game anymore. We are going to counter. And they countered the hell out of both teams, especially the Red Bulls. Like the Red Bulls, and that was when we were playing the two legs. That first round at home, like they expected to, play their normal way. No, they countered them, and they ended up winning that game, I think 3-1. And that was basically, it. You're not coming back from 3-1 unless you're the Falcons and are down 28-3. Like that's. I remember trying to I was gonna buy tickets to MLS Cup, and like the plane tickets from Ohio to Atlanta were like okay, and my wife's like, well, just buy them now, and I said no, like it's 3-1. She goes, what do you mean? I go, let me put it in terms you'll understand. It's 28-3 right now. I don't have any idea what's going to happen. She's like, okay, don't buy those tickets then. Don't buy them. But like but like Tata, I mean, he definitely did something that he hadn't done before. Completely changed his play style, and they ended up winning MLS Cup. He's a great guy. One of the things that surprises me though is that he did come back to MLS, because one of the reasons that he claimed why he left was because one, I guess his wife didn't like Atlanta, didn't like living there, but also didn't like to travel. Was on the road too much. So that does interest me that he is coming back from here. But he did say MLS was his weakness, right? So he's back now, and it doesn't hurt that you're pretty much going to be coaching the best player ever in the league.
Well, I think
he's never won anything with Messi, by the way. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, and I think maybe because he's seen success quickly in the MLS, right? I mean, you guys won the MLS Cup one year as well, and I mean, other than that, I know you mentioned something about, I guess, too many cooks in the kitchen when it came to making, I guess, player decisions. I mean, I don't see that happening here because the ownership isn't too mixed into what it is as far as selecting players are concerned. But that's still kind of scary to even think about.
Well, I think he's smart enough. I think you should put Tata in a room with them, and I think that's what works out best. Like most franchises, if you're coaching and your technical director can work together to be able to pick the best players, I think that's what works out great. That's not what happens with Atlanta. Like that's now like the opposite. Like technical director basically picks everything, and the coach just has to adjust to it. And I think that if they're serious here and if Miami's serious, they'll let Tata in the room to help make some of these decisions. Again, probably not this year. I don't think. I think you guys are probably going to be strapped for cash after a couple of these moves here. So, but you see some of these other moves in the I'm not knocking you, Chris. Like that's not a knock. If I would take a knock, I'd be having that evil grin on my face. But like you've got so many moving parts now with these guys coming in. I don't know how much like actual space that you have to really mess around. But like he could find deals with players, and I think that's good for him. I mean, I think it's good for you guys to have just an extra smart guy in the room, helping pick some of your players.
I don't know if you're gonna have an answer for this, but I'm gonna ask anyway. If on a Tata team in Atlanta, at least, was there an integral piece that was the most important on that roster? Like that you need a solid 10, you need a solid striker. Is there something that's integral to Tata's formation or play style that they feel we need? Like I know we have Messi, so you're kind of good. You feel like you're good offensively, but do you feel like there was something that we kind of just need? Because we've gone down with a lot of injuries. Our fullbacks right now are hurting. Center backs, we're okay. Midfield, dead. Busquets, slow. So is there something that you feel like maybe you kind of need?
I would say that team definitely struggled when Almiron wasn't in the lineup.
Okay.
And I mean, he's a special talent, though. You know what I mean? Like they had quite a few special talents over there. I mean, you had Almiron, you had Joseph Martinez prior to the injury, and those two could be, going down to some of the best players ever to play in MLS. Very underrated. Almiron's very underrated because it was a short time. He was in and out, but won a championship, did some great things. Him and Joseph were probably one of the best 1-2 combo that you could have in a lineup. So the midfield was important. I mean, across there,
it's crazy because we're gonna take Messi, but I mean, other than Messi and I mean Busquets playing in behind him, everybody else in the midfield is basically custodians.
Man, yeah.
Midfield.
Well, and the thing is, we've suffered a lot. Like this past Saturday, Negri, our starting left back, out for the year with an ACL injury. So now we don't have a left back. Now I know there's been a lot of rumors about Jordi Alba, and I think that he will end up coming. But hypothetically, let's say he doesn't come. We're now lacking on our fullbacks because Yedlin is away for the Golden Cup, and when he comes back, he hasn't necessarily been his top self. Like you don't see old Yedlin. And then we're gonna have Noah Allen. How old is he? Like 18, 19? And don't get me wrong, I love Noah Allen, but for a team that I'm hoping can produce a championship, maybe I don't know if Noah Allen's ready to be an every week starter. And then we don't really have anybody up top to play with Messi. Like we don't really have wings. We don't have an attacking midfield that can help Messi out. We have Joseph and Campana, which I guess this is a perfect segue. So your boy Joseph.
How's that going?
Ooh, it's a little bad.
Yeah.
He kicked our ass when he played against us.
That's all he did.
That was the first time he touched the ball. Yeah.
I knew he was going to do it too. Like I knew that was going to happen. Like it was just written in the stars that he was going to score, and then he scores 2.
And then that's all he scores. Well,
right?
He scored another goal, but I mean he's been garbage ever since.
Yeah.
When Joseph started kind of falling out of favor in Atlanta, how did that look? Because the first, I want to say 10 games or so, he wasn't playing well. But I remember I thought to myself, like, oh, but this guy, like, you can't tell. He's still encouraging his teammates. Still looks good, still looks positive. But over the last month and a half or so, you can see the frustration. Yeah. You can see the frustration when somebody doesn't find him with a pass. He'll start bitching at him. And I was like, oh, no, this isn't good. This is going south quickly. Like, did he ever fall out of favor with Tata?
Well, Joseph Martinez has fallen out of favor with every coach that he's pretty much ever had. There's stories that have come out that, some real funny ones about, him getting into arguments with, the players at halftime. Now, at this point, he's one of the best players in the league. He's going in there, throwing stuff in the locker room, upset that the team's not playing well. And you do need those type of guys.
Oh, yeah.
But he's not that Joseph Martinez anymore. Right? Like he's just not that. And, he comes back from this injury, has a decent season. When he comes back, he's still icing his leg every game. And then the next season, it really doesn't come. Like, it just seems like he's lost a step. His vision of how the game's really flowing had started to go away. He was not making the passes when he needed to, wasn't making the runs. And, he's yelling at the players. He's getting into it with the coach. He's flipping tables with chicken and rice. He's, they're asking him, right? Like, I mean, basically there was a point where they had Heinze and, he goes on to The Athletic, starts talking to Felipe, and it's just like, it's me or him. Like, and you're like, oh man, like,
yeah. That's rough.
What's going on here? And they suspended him for a game, and like that's when the article came out, and it was crazy because that game was on ESPN, and you got Taylor Twellman out there who loves to push the button on every story of MLS, right? So he's out there, talking trash about the locker room because he's talking about Carlos Bocanegra, who he hates, the technical director. He's talking about Heinze, and you're like, oh man, like what is going to happen? 2 weeks later, Heinze's fired. And you're like, oh man, like this guy holds it. And it just got worse. And like even at the end of the year, they asked Joseph about what his future was with Atlanta, and he just like points over to Pineda and Bocanegra, goes, go talk to them. Like that's not up to me. It's like talk to him. And it's like, man, like this guy this is the guy that got me into soccer. Like, this is my favorite player, right? And, you know, this is, you know, people's Tom Brady, you know, that they got into, or, you know, whatever, the first player you love as sport. And it's like, I don't think I've ever seen an injury like take a player and take his personality, take his swagger, and take his talent away, because this guy was the man. He was going to set every MLS scoring record, right? Like, he was going to do it. He was, you know, quickest guy to 100 goals, right? Like, that's amazing. And just one bad night on Nashville's shitty field, and it's over.
But you know what? When we first got or when the rumor started, I remember I went back and I started looking back at all the Joseph highlights, and I went back and I looked at them, and I would say at that point he had 98 goals, at least in the regular season, right? I went back to look at him, and I want to say half of them were either a penalty kick or a tap-in. Like, he would find the position, but he would be on the receiving end of a great pass, and he'd be in that position to tap it in. If he doesn't have somebody serving him the ball up the way that he was up in Atlanta, he's not going to be effective. Because, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he can create for himself all that much. Now, don't get me wrong. I did see some plays where it was all him. But more than not, I saw him on the receiving end of a great pass, and him being in position, which as a striker, that is one of your jobs. You got to read the play and be in position. But he would be in position for the tap-in, for the easy goal. And he hasn't been receiving that service here. So I don't know obviously with Messi here, hopefully that changes. But he's not going to be successful here if he doesn't have anybody giving him that service. That's why, for me, I would prefer somebody like Campana. Now, I go back to you, Tommy. You more or less from a distance have seen him struggling. You know the history with Tata, and you know that Messi's coming. From the outside looking in, do you think Joseph could get back, not to where he was in Atlanta when he scored the 30 whatever goals he had, but could he get back to being a productive striker again now with Messi and Tata in the fold?
No.
Okay.
I thought that they should have got rid of him last year at some point, and even earlier. I thought that just the attitude and everything. Like, you talk about the tap-ins and the penalties, and I get that, but I mean, he had some speed too. He wasn't the fastest guy, but he was able to get that pass, and he was able to fly past some defenders, and he doesn't have that anymore.
Well, and one of the things that I noticed, and we were talking about this, Danny, where you got Joseph trying on like bicycle kicks and 360 off the back wall scorpion kicks.
He has the best non-contact highlight video you'll ever see. He has
he has scored a couple. He has done a few, and he tried it for a while in Atlanta and finally did it like twice.
And then on top of that, Danny brought up a good point on Twitter where he's never seen a striker consistently overplay as the dummy, right? Where he's pass. With the dummy pass, he lets it go right past him. Like, dude, you're supposed to blast this thing to the back of the net. What are you doing here?
Yeah, he's I've been disappointed a little bit. I thought that he would still have some juice in the tank. But like I said, maybe he needs somebody feeding him that ball, because Higuain looked like hot trash until he had Pozuelo feeding him that ball, and all of a sudden he scored like 12 goals in the last like 13, 14 games. So, maybe that's what he needs.
And Tommy said it. I mean, does he think that he's going to improve when Messi comes? I mean, he doesn't see it, and I can agree with that, because it's just there's a lot of negative things that are impacting Joseph in terms of not just like play or like he's skilled, right? But like there's too much negativity against him. No, Tommy?
Yeah. I mean, I know that there was talks that he had a rough start of the season because he was a little out of shape, because I know he had a child. I think that was born premature, and he was taking care of that. But when he came back from his injury, he even joked around about being overweight. Yeah. Like he's, and I think, look, I do a lot of exercising, but I'm not a skinny guy here. Okay. Yeah. But I don't think he's in shape. He doesn't look like he's in shape like he used to be. Like, my wife would see pictures of him without a shirt on, and she'd be like, "Oh man, Let's go upstairs, Tommy. I don't think that's the. I don't think that's where it is right now.
Well, and let me tell you, consistently, there's a lot of people that agree with you, Tommy. So I kind of co-sign what you're saying. I can definitely see that for sure.
I'm unfortunate. I'm in favor of having Campana start from now on, but we'll see. It's all in Tata's hands now.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that for sure.
All right, Tommy, we had this discussion about Messi, and we talked for a while. I made fun of you because you were going to pay for him to score goals on you, but now that I think about it, he's never going to play in Atlanta because he's not going to play in turf. So you guys can sell out that stadium all you want. You're never going to see Messi. But
he's going to play. He's going to play that game.
No, he's not.
You want to bet? You want to bet $5?
I'll bet you $100.
I'm not betting you $100.
Come on, man. Just $5. Why do you have to go so drastic?
Because I know I'm going to win.
I just said $5.
I would be so pissed if he were to run out there and play on that turf. We've lost.
You need to win every game possible to make the playoffs. Do you not want to make the playoffs at this point?
Yeah, but you're not one.
Messi wants to make the playoffs. Like I understand because what did Zlatan do right before the Atlanta United game? He was on a yellow card. He was one yellow card away. What's he do? He just like knocks some guy over for shits and giggles. And the ref just looks at him. He's like, all right, here's a yellow. Zlatan doesn't come to Atlanta. Everybody's pissed. Rooney, like, all of a sudden was, like, getting divorced so he didn't have to play in Atlanta. Like, all of a sudden there's, like, pictures, like, of Rooney going on an airplane saying he's got trouble with his wife and he's leaving. I'm like, oh, Rooney's not coming to Atlanta. Jesus. But, so let me tell you that the Messi stuff started, I think it was, like, on a Wednesday night or whatever, and I think it was, like, started coming.
Tuesday night, and then Wednesday morning they started picking up. Yeah.
So that night, I was already planning on coming out to Atlanta to see Joseph play, right? Like that was Joseph's big return. Wanted to see that, and I'm driving home, and I go, shit, I don't even know if this Messi thing's real, but I need to buy some tickets to this game. And I am so pissed because I said I should buy 4 tickets. But I've gotten stuck with tickets before. Like, you buy tickets, a couple extra tickets, you're like, I'll sell them, I'll make money back. I did that with Lady Gaga tickets, like, a long, long time ago. I ended up going to Lady Gaga and, like, spent, like, $200. And I was like, shit. I had, like, PTSD on it. But I bought 2 tickets for $40 in the supporter section each. Man, the next day, those things are going for, $350. And my wife's like, we should sell them. I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I'm flying out here to go to this game to see everybody. I'm not going to do it. And then I threw $10 on Miami to win MLS Cup. If that thing hits, I think I'm gonna win like $1,600. But all they got to do is make the playoffs, guys. If they make the playoffs, they're going to offer me a huge cash out. So I am rooting for you guys to make the playoffs. If you make the playoffs, I can cash out at $500. I'm done. I'm out.
Let me break it down to you real quick because we had this conversation on Monday when we had our last episode. We have 12 games with Messi and Busquets, regular season games. Of those 12, 7 of them are against teams that are 10th or worse in the Eastern Conference or Western Conference.
It's huge.
A lot of those games are winnable, and none of those 7 are against Atlanta. I think they're okay sacrificing that one game against Atlanta and just hoping that they could win 7 of those 12 because – I mean, I can't imagine him going out and playing on that turf. I really can't.
I think he's going to. I think it's going to be one of the biggest games out there for MLS. Apple owns Messi now, right? Like, I think they've got a huge stock into him. We've been talking about it with a couple of the MLS announcers. We just had one of them on, Steve Cangelosi, and he was like, "That's like one of the biggest regular season games of the year." If he plays, like that game's gonna have so many eyes on it, right? And Atlanta just opened up the top. Screw Atlanta United for one thing. I'm gonna say this: they opened up the entire top of that. I think the tickets are usually like $35. They're selling for like $120 a ticket up the top of the bet where you get nosebleeds. Like you're at top of the butthole, right? Because that's what people call the top of it is like, the butthole up there. Yep. Like it's $120 to sit up there. Like that's insane. Like that, I don't think that that's right at all. Like if the fans want to gouge the ticket prices, okay, whatever. You're not going to stop that. But the team starting to sell tickets at $120 at minimum, that's just stupid.
Well, I know we're gonna let you. We're gonna let you go in a second, but I will talk to you since we're talking about tickets. You know, when you're talking about that Atlanta game and how you bought 2 tickets and you regret not buying 4. On June 5th, we had a guest on, IMCF Traveler. If you don't follow him, follow him. He always has good inside information. He was on with us and he said Messi's going to be here before Friday. Obviously, I was like, shut the hell up. You got to be crazy. But when Tuesday hit, I was like, maybe. So we're season ticket holders, but we don't get tickets to the Leagues Cup. So I went on and I bought 2 tickets just in case. $30 each. Told Chris to do it. He didn't do it.
They disappeared on me. They disappeared on me as I was purchasing them, seat by seat by seat.
You took too long. I told you like earlier in the day. Anyway,
whatever.
Chris,
so they took the tickets off the market a couple hours later, so you couldn't even buy anymore. And now you've seen the prices for.
Now you know it's happening.
Ridiculous. So me and my wife hate the fact that we didn't buy more for $30. This morning, they did a pre-sale for those tickets that are left for that game. Now, when you go on to buy these tickets, they're what you would consider nosebleed in our stadium for $200. That's the cheapest ticket, $180 I got tickets for $30 in row 4, and those tickets are going for $200 now. It's ridiculous. And that's
wait, you're only getting $200 for those tickets? Like that's all they're worth?
No. That's what Ticketmaster's selling them for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tickets that I got for $30, they're now going for $200.
I feel like that would be more though. Like I feel like you could sell them for more.
Oh, later
sure.
on, sure.
Yeah,
as long as
Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna sell them?
I might.
Are you fair weather fan? Not even going to the games.
Oh no! For the record,
Cheap.
I'm gonna go to the game. I may have enough tickets that I could make a profit and still go to it. I wasn't gonna miss that game. Those tickets that I bought for $30, I was upset that I didn't buy 4 because I needed to go to the game, so I couldn't flip any. But now I might be able to flip. Maybe I bought 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. You know, who knows?
Hey, I'm in the same. I'm in the same boat, man. I'm depressed that I didn't do it. But for my wallet, I hope you guys make the playoffs, and then you could lose in the first round. That's all. That's all I care about.
I think we have a good chance of making the playoffs. I think that winning the Leagues Cup, like everybody's like, oh, you're gonna win the Leagues Cup. That one I think is gonna be harder, just because I think that Messi's gonna have at least a 2-3 game adjustment period. Because it's not going to be like he's going to go and just start gelling with everybody. So I think that we have a better chance of making the playoffs than winning the Leagues Cup. And
who's game 2?
Yes. Yeah. Are you guys going to come down?
No. I don't come down to Miami.
Yeah, it's
too much bath salts down there. I don't do that.
Yeah, too many zombies. It's a disaster down here. Hot as balls.
Look, he doesn't live in Atlanta. He lives in Ohio. Get away from Ohio. Who wants to be in Ohio?
Who's getting the All-Star game next year, baby? Columbus.
Who watches the MLS All-Star game?
I watched it last year.
For what?
I mean, nobody does anything on Wednesdays, like, or whenever it is, like. I mean, besides listening to our shows, besides listening to our shows.
I'm saying on Wednesdays you're at 9 o'clock. You're here watching the Battered Herons. All right.
Yeah, Tommy. but Messi. And the All-Star game, you'll be watching it. Screw you, Messi could break his leg, and they're gonna put him out in a wheelchair and like do an entire like ceremony for him next year at the All-Star game, even if we can't do it. Get out of here.
Well, for the record, Messi came down here to play a friendly Argentina versus Honduras, and I know that they filled up the stadium. I didn't think twice about going. I don't care about seeing Argentina against Honduras. And everybody's like, oh, but you didn't see Messi. I was like, he's playing against Honduras. I don't know. So, Tommy, let the people know where they can find you and anything else on the Messi front before you head out.
You jerks. Tommy ATL 96. We do scarves and spikes every Wednesday before you guys. So I got to make toast in between us. But yeah, I mean, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. We got 2 more times for playing each other.
Yes.
Yeah, that's 2 more losses for you guys.
Oh. 4 more goals for Joseph.
That's all I was about to say. At least we guarantee with 4 more goals for Joseph for sure.
Oh, you jerks! Yeah, it'll be fun. Leagues Cup should be an interesting run here, and then I'll be at that big Messi game, so we'll have to talk about it before. But thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. Happy birthday!
Thank you. And I'm telling, and I will. So I guess you don't want to bet $100, so I'll put 5 on it.
Oh my God! Just put a Starbucks card on it, bro. Like, what are you doing? $100?
I'm
gonna coffee or a beer. Well, I know beers cost like $30 at your stadium. I was gonna say, let's do a beer. Mine's like $8. Yours is $30. Well, right. Now it's going to be 60 because now you got to pay for Messi.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You better walk to that stadium also because I'm assuming parking is going to be through the roof also.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
It's going to be a disaster. But I'm looking.
Stop having Tommies on the show, guys. Like, I was so disappointed. I found out there was a Tommy like a week after me. You jerks. Yeah, you have a Jesus.
All right, Tommy.
To keep that a trend.
So,
if I find out there's you just start finding random Tommies on Twitter, like it's gonna go downhill. Just ask a random Tommy to come on and talk about a team. Like you're gonna get a shirtless Tommy, a pantless Tommy. Like you start going to rando Tommies.
We're gonna have
Tommy,
a Royal Rumble.
We're gonna look for Tommy
Royal
Dreamer.
Rumble.
Maybe
Tommy Dreamer.
He might be a Red Bulls fan.
Yeah, he's a New York fan. Well, Tommy, one time, I'll be back.
All right, my man.
Thank you, Tommy.
Appreciate you taking the time.
See you guys.
Later.
Messi.
That was a good one. That's why he's Tommy one time.
All right. So, as usual, we on Wednesdays usually preview the upcoming game. On Saturday, we have Austin FC, which is, not doing great compared to how they were last year. But over the last two games, they beat, I want to say it was the two Texas teams. They beat Houston and they beat, and was it Dallas? It was Houston and Dallas, maybe. Okay, so it's Houston and Dallas, 3-0 each. So they finally got things rolling. So how are we feeling about this game on Saturday, knowing that we're riding a 7-game losing streak going into this, Chris?
Well, I wonder, is Tata going to be coaching this team this Saturday?
No.
That's a great question.
No.
Which you just answered. And number two, I feel so bad for Javi Morales because I don't know if you saw what I posted on Twitter.
Yeah, you're an asshole.
This guy finally he gets Inter Miami gear before Javi Morales gets Inter Miami gear. Like, how fucked up is that? Right? Like, that's terrible.
Yeah, I thought I was taking pictures in Inter Miami gear. That is true.
Now, Austin, if we're talking about the Austin of last year, I was always very scared of that team because they were like one of the strongest teams in the West.
Last year.
Yeah. Now, this year, I was looking at their schedule, and the last 3 games, they scored 3 goals. The last 2 games, they scored 3 goals apiece.
Oh, it was Dallas and Houston.
Dallas and Houston, they won 3-0 against both of them. They lost against Sporting Kansas City. They lost against Real Salt Lake. They won against Minnesota. Listen, I typically, with a team that's on a streak like this, 2-game winning streak, and they still have very good players, it terrifies me that they're playing us. Now, it's at home. It doesn't count really for anything like it did last year, but it's definitely going to feel nice to hear the fan base and feel the fan base this Saturday because of the simple fact that, 1, it's been a long time since we had our last home game, and 2, with all of this Messi, Busquets, and Tata stuff, this place is gonna be amazing this Saturday. No, or am I dreaming?
Well, before we start talking about the game, actually, I did want to touch about that. What do you think the stadium is gonna be like? I think security is gonna be
they're gonna be practicing
more of a presence, right? And not because Messi's there, but because it's time to get some protocols in check, right? Like you can't just go out and set up new protocols for Messi, but then just bring him out the first time on the 21st. I think
no way.
I think security is going to be a little stricter. You're going to see new protocols. I don't think those stands are in yet, but you might see some cranes out there or something. Like, it's going to be very interesting, but I'm looking forward to it more than anything because these next 2 games on Saturday on the 1st and on Tuesday on the 4th are literally going to be the last 2 games that we experience at Drive Pink that are, I guess I can say, normal. Because after the 4th, after these 2 home games,
it's going to be a frenzy.
Changes forever because Messi should open up that new stadium. So if you want to see Drive Pink in that intimate setting that you've been used to it the last couple of years, you got to go on Saturday or on Tuesday because after these 2 games, it's over.
You're not getting it back. You're not getting it back.
No. That's it. The Drive Pink is going to be completely different from here until we open the new stadium in 2025, which I'm assuming. So come out here and enjoy it. And do you think the Heineken bar is still going to be there on Saturday?
Well, what was it? A couple podcasts ago, we were talking about it, and I forgot. I think it was Xavier that brought up that they're probably going to move the Heineken bar. I mean, I don't know where the hell they're not going to move that thing. Like, you can't move it by the other corner where the store's at, right?
Fine.
You can't move it to the southwest corner, because that's like where they pull trucks up, and that's where like the tour buses go through. You can't put it there. So
maybe.
like,
it's not that wide. Maybe.
I think I don't remember if it was Ian Hess that mentioned that they're just gonna like hide it under the stands that they're just gonna bring in through the corner, which I don't see that either, because like that Lego land of a section, I'm not even too confident in that. Right? Like, just have a makeshift like corner section. I mean, you said that nobody's gonna get sued, but like, they're building this like in 2 days.
I really don't think they're building. I think they might be bringing that from somewhere else. I don't know, but again, if you're gonna make it out to the stadium and you want to enjoy just one or two more normal Inter Miami intimate games with just the fans that have been around forever, these are the two games to make it, because after July 4th, the next home game is July 21st, the introduction, I think July 16th. I'm assuming it's gonna be at Driving Stadium. After July 4th, it's going to be mayhem. So come out here and enjoy the games this weekend. So going back to Austin, we usually have a guest from Austin or any opposing podcast to join us every Wednesday. Now, we couldn't find anybody. They all said that they were busy doing their own shows or whatever may have you. But we did have one podcast called Moon Tower Soccer. It's an Austin FC podcast. And I appreciate them because they said they couldn't make it, but they did send them some info on the team, right? So they wanted to tell us that.
That's nice of them.
It was. One of the reasons that they've been doing poorly was because they've had a lot of injuries to the center backs. Now, when I looked at them statistically, they are one of the worst defensive teams. They're right there with us. They've given us almost the same amount of goals as us, same amount of shots as us. So defensively, they are very poor. Wow. When they're attacking, they play a 4-3-3. But they are a very possession-heavy team. So they like to hold the possession, kind of like us, and kind of just wait for things to open up. Now, I don't know how it's going to work with us, because we also like to hold the ball and kind of play keep away and try to see until something opens up. Now, the difference between us and them is that they have Drusy, which once he gets an opportunity, he can do something with it. We don't have anybody like that just right now. So it should be an interesting game of chess. And one other thing that they said is that they like to play a mid-block. So they don't press high. They kind of just wait for you to get to the midfield and kind of defend you there. So because we have no creativity in the midfield, I think we might have to play the long ball a little more than we usually do. Now, who's going to be giving those outlet passes? I don't know. Who's going to be receiving those outlet passes? I don't know. So all in all, it seems like it's going to be a very interesting game this coming Saturday, because I just don't know what to expect. Now, if we were to lose, let's say hypothetically, are you going to be thinking it's the end of the world, or at this point it's like, it's just another loss, we're still waiting for Messi?
I mean, at this point, I really don't give two craps if we win or lose the next game.
Okay.
I mean, obviously I want to win, but like, there's so much going on in terms of like future and after Messi gets here that like, I feel like the team can lose and we can be able to recover after Messi comes on with Busquets and Tata and whoever else they're planning on grabbing, and that we can still make a push out of this even after our sort of like JV squad plays these next couple games. I mean, I was thinking about this, Danny, and tell me what you think. Like, what's the starting lineup? What do you think the starting lineup's going to be? I mean, there's so many players that are injured and they're critical players. You know, you got Mota, you got Gregory, you got Negri, you got Coco Jean, you got. I mean, it's name a player and they might be injured.
Noah Allen's at left back, which I'm kind of excited to see him get more minutes. But
Christoph,
will Christoph be back? Hopefully his visa thing is figured out. Frey, because I don't know if Kamal Miller's going to be available, and Yedlin's not back, so I don't know who's going to be playing right back. Who do we have at right back?
Right back, it's Yedlin or
Yedlin's not gonna be playing.
Neville or Taylor.
Robert Taylor. Maybe Robert Taylor. Unless we go with 3 center backs in the back. Okay, so we have that. Then in the midfield,
you got David Ruiz, Kramashi. You got Kramashi.
We have Kramashi.
You got. I mean, you want to just
Stefanelli.
You want to throw Ulloa in there just for shits and giggles, or are you still riding the pine?
Ullola's not playing. Campana's still not going to start for some reason. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from the team. And you know what the worst part is? The worst part is that the more I hear about all these new players and coaches signing on, it has to affect the player psyche. Like everybody's like, oh, but they're more motivated to prove themselves that they belong. I don't think so. I think all the uncertainty on top of a losing streak might give you a negative effect. I think that they might be playing more hesitant to not mess up. I think that this is a bad thing. And I think that it's going to make things a lot more difficult for them on Saturday. With that said, we need to win this game because out of the next 4 games, this is the most winnable game. Austin, although they've won the last 2 games 3-0 against Dallas and against Houston,
they're not really world beaters.
They're not really world beaters, and they won both of those games, I believe, at home.
Yeah.
So because they won at home, on the road they haven't been great. I'm hoping that does mean that we have a chance. Now, I don't know where our goals are going to come from because I feel like our team has looked horrible. The fact that the other team, Austin, likes to play with the possession, maybe that kind of forces us to play maybe a counter-attacking style. We're just playing the long ball. Maybe we luck out with a goal here and there. We could let them have the possession. Now, I will tell you that we are, again, the worst team statistically at winning headed duels.
Yeah.
And Austin leads the league in headed goals with 9. So don't be surprised if they score a headed goal on us at least once.
Well, and it's not only that, and you were talking about how some of the players have been taking this news, how they probably are receiving it. And I'll tell you, the players that I think that are more affected than others are the older players. I think that the younger players, they're not worried about what's happening.
No, they get paid. They're not going to start. Yeah,
they get paid too little, right? They're not going to start over any of these guys. Mm-hmm. They're there and they're going to soak up all the information they can from these guys, right? The older guys like Pizarro, Taylor, which unfortunately I hope that Taylor sticks around because he's like legit the only one that's like gun ho about getting into our offense and pushing. But
Stefanelli,
Stefanelli, you got Taylor, you got Pizarro, you got some players that are really, really quite possibly are not going to be in a pink jersey at the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's who I think is getting affected out of all the players.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. We'll see. I guess we just predicted. Like, look, I see this as the most winnable game, so that's why I feel like we need to find a way to win this game. So go ahead. What do you think, Chris, on Saturday?
Well, I think that Joseph's not going to get the start because this Javi Morales deal with him starting Joseph for the past couple games, it's a stinker. It's a big stinker. And I think that in order for him to change this around, he's definitely going to have to start Campana. I think that's going to help us. Yep.
You don't think that Tata is going to start telling him what he wants the team to do now that he's officially the coach?
That I can see happening. And I put up a tweet earlier today that I actually wouldn't mind Javi Morales learning from Tata, because then it could be that whole Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra heat culture crap, right? Where whenever Tata decides to leave Inter Miami, you got Eric Spoelstra, a.k.a. Javi Morales, who steps in from being like a videographer or whatever. And that would be actually really, really cool. I actually do think that is a possibility, Danny, that he's going to sort of feed stuff to him and just tell him, hey, approach the game like this. Work the guys like this formation, ask them to
play
do
the
this,
counter.
that. Yeah.
But because of that, I think that Joseph might start. I think Tata might have it in with Joseph.
Ooh, that's
I can't see why else he would start.
That's where it's gonna get interesting, man. Watching this game, I really wonder if we're gonna legitimately be able to tell if Javi Morales is just a puppet and Tata's little puppet master strings, because that's gonna be key.
All right. So do you think we win or lose?
I think we win. I think that we're gonna win 2-1. I think it's gonna be very close. I think it's gonna be like within the last 5-10 minutes, we're gonna score a goal, like cardiac heron style.
I like it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be 2-1, and we win in a fight to a fashionable fight.
Look, like I said, Austin doesn't have a good defense. They have Alex Ring. For those of you that know Alex Ring is a great central defending midfielder. They haven't played center back, and he might not even be available because he got injured also. So they have been hurting back on the on their back line. I think that we could possibly score 1 or 2 goals. I'm gonna say 2, just because we need to score 2, because I do think that we'll give up at least 1 goal, a headed goal. So I'd say 2-1, and I think Robert Taylor gives us some magic, kind of like he did with Philly, and he'll find a way to score a goal to win the game. And I've been optimistic about the playoffs. If we lose to Austin, my optimism will finally start to die down.
Oof. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, the number...
We need to get at least 1 win in the next 4. We need to go into the break with at least 18. Hopefully more, but at least 18 points going into that break. And if we lose to Austin, I can't imagine us beating St. Louis, the top team in the West. I can't imagine us beating Columbus. And I don't know. Maybe DC on the 4th of July, but Austin, it's a winnable game. So I really am hurting.
No, and Esteban, he's mentioning Frey, McVay. That's scary stuff, man. That's scary stuff. Frey, McVay.
We have MLS 2 team riding out there, and not many teams have that right now. But look, we need a little miracle, but hopefully the Messi effect, right? Hopefully Tata kind of sprinkled something on the field as he was taking pictures today. Hopefully he spread some knowledge onto Javi Morales, and we can get this figured out, because if we can get this win, again, I'll start feeling a lot better about the offseason. About the playoffs. Chris, and actually, before we go, Chris, have you heard anything, or maybe anybody in the chat has heard anything about the July 4th game? Are there going to be any festivities, fireworks, or anything like that? Because if they don't have fireworks, I might not attend the game, because I want to take my kids. But I'm taking my kids because they want to see fireworks on the 4th of July. If you guys are having a game on the 4th of July and not providing fireworks, what the hell am I going to tell my kids? Hey, sorry guys, I'm going to have you here watching a soccer game, and then we're going to go home. Come on. Has anybody heard? No, nobody in the chat. Chris, you haven't heard anything?
No, I haven't heard anything. And if they do something, I imagine it's going to be like in the yellow lot, right? Like on the other side of the stadium, away from the airport, where planes fly in and out. It's the 4th of July.
It's the 4th of July. I'm sure that they could talk something out. Be like, hey, it's the 4th of July. After the game, we're going to let off some fireworks. No fly zone for the next hour. I'm sure that they could figure that out. It's the 4th of freaking July, guy.
But we're not going to be, the team's not going to be popping off like Publix fireworks. They're going to get their hands on like Disney World fireworks. I
would hope so. Again, if I can't tell my kids that it's the 4th of July, they're not going to see fireworks. I have to go watch this MLS 2 team play against the MLS team. I can't do that. So I need you guys to provide us some fireworks on the 4th of July.
Danny, just take those $5 that Tommy one time is going to pay you and buy a pack of sparklers. And call it a day.
All right. Well, Chris, anything else for the people?
No, man. It was awesome. The 1-year podiversary. Listen, all of you guys in the chat, man, thank you so much. This is a special day for us. We really appreciate you guys hanging on with us, not just for today, but for the past almost 12 months. And it's something that never goes, never goes by the waistline. We always appreciate it, for sure.
For sure. The chat is the best part of the show. And even though we started going live in January, so the first, 6 months was kind of just us and then releasing. So we appreciate over the last 6 months, everybody that started joining on the live shows and everything that you guys have brought to the show, because honestly, it wouldn't be as good without you guys. So we appreciate you guys. If you're listening on audio, thank you for listening all the way to the end. If you were in the chat, or are watching on YouTube later, thank you for listening all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share, 5 stars, all that other good stuff. And again, thank you for wishing us a happy podiversary. And we'll see you guys on Monday, hopefully celebrating a win, right? Because we don't kiss sisters, so it's either a win or loss.
Yes.
All right. Have a good one.